Council regular meeting. Tonight's Monday, February 2nd, 2026. We're in the Great Hall here in the city of Methuen. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Marsan.
Here.
Councilor Pesh.
Present.
Councilor Santos.
Present.
Councilor Samad.
Here.
Councilor Valley.
Present.
Councilor DeZoglio.
Present.
Councilor Drew.
Here.
Councilor McLaren is absent, and Chair Soto.
Present.
One absent.
Thank you. I'll take a motion for the acceptance of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilor DeZoglio, seconded by Councilor Pesh. Any discussion?
Madam Chair, I'd like a friendly amendment to the agenda. Could we move organizational business after public participation? And then also move TR 26-9 to after organizational business?
Okay. I have a motion on the floor to move organizational business after public participation as well as TR 26-9, correct?
Yes.
I'll second.
Second by Councilor Samard. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. So then that moves us to, let's see, Pledge of Allegiance. We could all stand.
the agenda as amended.
No, sorry. We have to accept the agenda as amended. Thank you. I'll take a motion to accept the agenda as amended.
Second.
Moved by Councilor Pesh, seconded by Councilor DeZoglio. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Please stand now. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Keep standing, please.
Tonight, we have a quote from Margaret Mead. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. I'd also like everyone to remain standing for a moment of silence for Edward A. Miller, a resident of Methuen who passed away this past week. And we also received a request from a resident to add to our moment of silence the names of Luis Gustavo Nunez Caracas, Geraldo Lunas Campos, Victor Manuel Diaz, Parody La, Luis Beltran Yanez Cruz, Herbert Sanchez Dominguez, and Alex Preddy. Please remain standing.
Madam Chair, can we also add, we have an employee that passed this week, an employee that was at the water treatment plant, Jonathan Stackman.
Thank you for that,
Yeah.
Counselor.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there an invocation, Counselor?
Yes. Dear God, thank you for this moment. Your word said that when there's two under your name, you are in our presence. And I ask you in this moment that give us serenity, give us empathy to each other, and focus to look for the best of our city. In the name of Jesus, amen.
Thank you. Amen. Please be seated. Okay, so we've moved, next is public participation. So as we open public participation, Madam Vice Chair, you have the floor.
At this time, we'll open public participation. Speakers are reminded to state their name and their address for the record prior to speaking. Each speaker shall be allotted a maximum of 5 minutes to speak. They will receive a warning at when 1 minute remains and will not be permitted to speak after the allotted time. Speakers, as well as audience members, are expected to conduct themselves in a respectful and orderly manner. Any disruptive behavior may result in the immediate removal of such person or persons in order for us to be able to restore order and ensure the orderly conduct of our meeting. Thank you. First up is Rithnora Estes.
So this is Laura Estes from 141 Tenny Street, Thorn Arlington neighborhood, and this is Kaylani Mercado, same address. This Saturday during our Satellite Library Arts and Crafts program, children and staff worked together to create thank you cards for the DPW staff and Mr. Bauer as a meaningful way to express our appreciation. We want to recognize the hard work and dedication that goes into keeping our streets clean and safe, helping ensure that children can travel safely to and from their bus stops and homes each day. Please know that your efforts do not go unnoticed. We are deeply appreciated and is deeply appreciated by our families. We also created a special thank you card for Mayor Mr. Beauregard, to share our sincere gratitude for all that you have done and continue to do for our families and our neighborhood. Your leadership, commitment, and continued support make a lasting and positive impact on our community. So that one is for Bauer. The mayor right there. And then this is for Mr. Bauer right here, and then, so this one is for you.
Oh, awesome. Thank you so much. Oh, you got my face on there and everything. Oh, awesome. Yeah, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
No problem. Also, quickly, I'm also here in support for the CDBG funding as it helps us at the Lena Leahy Community Center to offer services such as after-school homework programs, summer basketball league, Saturday movies and crafts, karate, yoga, and so much more to over 130 youth annually. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Linda Susie?
Linda Susie, 10 Kirk Street, Methuen. I have 3 different things on the agenda this evening. First of all is the TR 26-9, acceptance of the FY25 CDBG funding. This funding is used for housing rehab projects for low-income families, adult literacy training, and neighborhood-based youth services like what we offer at the Lena Leahy Community Center. After-school homework center, summer basketball league, Saturday movies and crafts, karate and yoga, and so much more to over 130 youth annually. The funding comes directly from the state of Massachusetts, Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and I believe you just have to accept the funding coming in this evening. Also on TO 26-6, the winter parking ban, I just want to say what a great job the DPW did, and a big thank you to the residents of the Arlington neighborhood for removing their cars from the streets. I personally feel that just knowing that the new ban was put in place with the increased fines to $100 had an impact on people removing their cars. I know we reached out at Man Inc. We called people on every street to let them know and told them to tell their neighbors. The police handed out flyers with the new information. The mayor and the police posted it on their Facebook, and we also posted it on Facebook. And I believe that it is because of that that the cars were removed from the street. I just want to keep saying, though, the chief isn't here tonight, but I would like to see it pass, and also would like us to use the blue lights, the flashing blue lights that he had talked about previously. I know there's a fee that goes with that, but why can't we use the fines to pay for that? It's like $25,000. So I'm sure we can figure out how to get those blue lights up. TO 26-5, the position of the Sanitation Zero Waste Coordinator. I truly believe that this position is needed to cut down on our contamination rates here in Methuen. This educational piece is much needed to develop plans to let people know what you can and cannot recycle. Like I learned at our neighborhood meeting months ago, you cannot put plastic bags in your recycling. I had no idea. I've been putting plastic bags in my recycling for I don't know how many years, but you cannot put any type of plastic bags in your recycling. Everybody out there? As I drive through town, I constantly see Market Basket and other bags hanging out of people's recycling bags. So I feel this person would be able to address this, and that would take down on our contamination rate. And also, please don't forget our annual golf tournament on May 18th. I'm sure all of you received our information. It's May 18th at 8 a.m. and all the support that we can get, we'd greatly appreciate. So thank you and have a great evening.
Hold on, I was going to turn it on one side. Do this. Harleen Kochar.
My name is Harleen, and I am the Literacy Program Coordinator at the Nevins Library. I'm here to say thank you for your continued support of our literacy services. So, due to your support, we have been able to offer English language classes. This past year, we have expanded to digital literacy classes. Our students, who are all adult students, have been able to get jobs, have been able to sign up for specialized training, go to college. So many of them this year have enrolled in colleges. And digital literacy really, really helps them become better assimilated in society. One of the things that we are focusing on this year with your support is on making families as a whole more digitally literate. So that is a new program that we will be starting soon. Thank you again. I'm really grateful for your support.
Is there anyone else that didn't sign up that would like to speak? Seeing and hearing none, we'll close public participation, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is reading and acceptance, organizational business. I'll take a motion to adopt the City Council rule and procedure as amended January 20th, clarification of the language for the agenda deadline. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Councilor Drew, seconded by Councilor Pesh. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. TR 26-9. Let's see. Resolution authorizing acceptance and expenditure of the FY25 Massachusetts Community Development Block Grant, Community Development Fund. Motion to accept.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Pesh, second by Councilor DeZoglio. Discussion. Seeing Councilor Valley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a question for the CAFO. Madam CAFO, is this a recurrent grant? Like, do we receive these funds every single year?
We do, yes.
Okay. So how many positions grant funded does the department have?
They don't fund any full positions out of there. We do get some administrative support from the grant financially, which offsets some of the budget, but we don't have any salaries that come out of there directly.
But I saw here was like 238,000 going to salaries.
Hold on one second. Let me just pull it up.
Actually, 222,000. Which is the program coordinator, rehab specialist, and the finance officer.
Hold on one second. I'm just trying to pull it up in front of me here.
Like page 2 on the back.
So some of these are, like I said, it funds a portion of the position. So like the division director, et cetera, we get to take administrative costs from that. So these don't fund the full positions, they just offset some of them. So you'll see in the economic and development budget in the general fund, there's an offsetting line with the grants, and that comes from here. But they aren't full positions. So the rehab specialist is a different position. That's an outsourced position. That's not something that we hire and have a full-time position for.
Okay. So are this position, are they going to be included in the budget this year? Do you know?
So the ones that these help offset?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Any further discussion? Seeing none? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Okay. That's back to our regular agenda. Reading and acceptance of the minutes from previous meetings, June 16, 2025, public hearing, which was at 6 p.m. Should I take individual votes, Mr. Solicitor? Thank you for that clarification. That was for the water enterprise on June. I'll take a motion for that one first, for the public hearing.
Second.
Motion made by Councilor Samard, seconded by Councilor Pesh. Any discussion on that? Yes, Councilor?
Yes,
Valley.
Madam Chair, and the question is for you. Why are we reading and accepting minutes from 7 months ago?
If I may, so some of our minutes are in backlog within our clerks. So they have to produce them, and once they're produced, they're submitted to the body for review and approval. So I will disclose there are minutes that, for example, the solicitor's requesting from 2010 that have to be done. 2020, 2021, so you'll see those come across your desk once they're prepared and ready to be voted on.
So what is the plan moving forward to avoid this from happening again?
That's a conversation that I can have with our council clerks,
Okay,
yes.
thank you.
Any further discussion on that particular? Thank you. So I'll take all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Present.
Madam Chair, weren't you going to take individual?
You want individual roll call?
That's what the solicitor suggested.
No individual minutes.
No, so the clarification was, Counselor, if I should take a vote on each line item of the minutes. So we could do a roll call, unless
My
you, are you
apologies. Nope, nope.
requesting individual roll
I'm good.
call?
My apologies, I misunderstood.
Okay, all right. So I'll do it again. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Present.
Present for Counselor DeZoglio? Just the one? Thank you. Motion carries. Next item, Water Enterprise, June 16, 2025, 6 p.m., public hearing. May I take a motion to accept?
So moved.
Motion by Counselor Pesh, seconded by Counselor Samard. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any
Present.
present for Counselor DeZoglio? Motion carries. Public hearing municipal budget, June 16, 2025, special meeting. I have a motion to accept.
Second.
Motion by Counselor Samard, seconded by Counselor Pesh. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Present.
Counselor DeZoglio is present. Motion carries. January 5th, 2026, regular meeting. Motion to accept.
Second.
Motion from Counselor Samard, seconded by Counselor DeZoglio. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Present.
Counselor DeZoglio is present. Motion
Are
carries.
you present?
Sorry, I thought, yeah. Can I, what's
Yes,
it called? He's send my,
Counselor DeZoglio is rescinding
Yes.
his present vote, and he's, are you in
I thought I
favor?
heard another June 16th.
Motion carries unanimous. Thank you, Counselor. Next on the agenda, proclamation and correspondence, recognitions of outstanding service for Mr. Stephen Angelo, a Recreation Director. Motion to proclaim.
Move to accept. So moved.
Motion by Counselor Deuce, second by Counselor Samard. Any discussion? No? If I may, Counselor, would you mind giving him his plant? And this time we will take the picture, so I will make a recess. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. The Outstanding Service Award is accompanied by a living plant as a symbol of your public service. Like this plant, your work has taken root through reliability, care, and professionalism. Your daily efforts, often behind the scenes, have strengthened city operations and improved the lives of residents. As this plant continues to grow, it reflects the lasting impact of your service to our community. May this serve as a reminder that your work continues to grow and make a difference well beyond today. Thank you, Mr. D'Angelo, for all the service you give our city. I'll take a 5-minute recess for the picture. Yeah, with the plant. Thank you, if you don't mind. Counselors. Back to business. Let's call a roll, please, Madam Clerk.
Councilor Marsan.
Here.
Councilor Pesh.
Present.
Councilor Santos.
Present.
Councilor Samad.
Here.
Councilor Valley.
Present.
Councilor DeZoglio.
Present.
Councilor Drew.
Here.
Councilor McLaren is absent, and Chair Soto.
Present.
One absent.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is consideration of appointments, and there are none. Presentation and projects from department and any updates, there are none. So we're on to our mayor's report. Mr. Mayor, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to begin by expressing my condolences to Jill Stacklin and the entire Stacklin family following the passing of Jonathan Stacklin, an employee in our DPW. Speaking personally, I went to school with Jonathan. We're fellow members of the Methuen High School class of 2007, and I thought the world of him. This is a tremendous loss to our city. I'll be sending an update to the entire city workforce with information about the upcoming services, which I will also share, of course, with the City Council. Jonathan will be deeply missed. We experienced another tragedy in Essex County in recent days with the sinking of the Lily Jean, a fishing vessel out of Gloucester. 7 crew members were lost at sea, and this has been absolutely devastating to the city of Gloucester. I've reached out to Mayor Lundberg and Senator Tarr to express our condolences and offer support to the people of Gloucester from all of us here in Methuen. Today, there was a natural gas explosion in Nashua, New Hampshire. I've been following that story and staying in touch with Chief Toto. We haven't been called in to send mutual aid to Nashua yet, but we're ready to respond if we're asked to do so. Last week, Governor Healy filed her fiscal year 27 budget. According to the preliminary cherry sheet from Methuen, our Chapter 70 aid is rising from roughly $71 million in fiscal year 26 to $72.6 million in fiscal year 27. That's an increase of 2.3%, which is what most other municipalities in the Commonwealth saw, with a few exceptions. Methuen's UGA, that's the acronym for Unrestricted General Government Aid, is rising from $6.7 million in fiscal year 26 to $6.9 million in fiscal year 27. Of course, we're seeing increases, of course, that we like in local aid, but we're going to need to enter the budget planning cycle for fiscal year 27 with our eyes wide open. Costs are continuing to rise for every city and town in Massachusetts and vastly outpace the aid that we get from the Commonwealth, and also uncertainties at the federal level are not helping. We've been off to an early start in terms of budget planning, which is excellent. So we'll keep you posted as we prepare to roll out our municipal budget for the upcoming fiscal year. It's good to get that early start so we don't find ourselves in a position like we were in recent years where, we're right up at the very last minute. As you may have heard, the Marsh School was closed today due to heating and pipe issues. The problem was that the outdoor gas line system was frozen and caused a disruption to the boilers late Saturday, which in turn caused pipes to leak in 5 classrooms. The custodial crew has been working quite literally around the clock to clean up and make the necessary fixes. I was at the school until around 3 a.m. this morning. Councilor Drew joined me for the bulk of that time as well, and we can personally attest to the hard work of the custodians and the vendors and their diligence to deal with the issue. The vendor technicians were also at the Marsh all night. The building now is clean, it's dry, it's warm. School will be open tomorrow at the Marsh, and we're also assessing what improvements can be made to prevent this disruption from happening again. Separately from this issue, the RFP for the boiler replacement project at the Marsh has been up. It closes on February 10th. The RFP was published on January 21st. We have funding available in the CIP, and so by way of going about this the right way, we're able to move forward with that project in the coming months. Dr. Golubsky was invited to take part in a one-on-one meeting with Commissioner Martinez from DESE. That, of course, was following the meeting orchestrated by Senator Payano with your help, Chair Soto, in recent weeks. The commissioner invited our acting superintendent to meet with him to learn more about his Accelerating Achievement Initiative. That was great to hear. I'm grateful for the strengthened connection between our city and our schools with DESE that stems from that meeting. Regarding school events, Methuen High School's 40th Annual Science Fair was held this morning. Unfortunately, I had to miss the event due to my attendance at the Merrimack Valley Chambers Mayors and Managers Breakfast at the same time, but I'm told the students did a fantastic job, as they always do. Also, I invite you to join Methuen Public School students and faculty at the Nevins Library this Thursday, February 5th, from 5 to 6:30, as they seek community input in the development of the vision of a graduate. It's a workshop that's been developed and will be run by Methuen students, and the purpose is to serve as an aspirational outline of the skills, knowledge, and traits we hope our students will have upon graduation. Regarding some RFPs that are in progress, the RFP for grant writing services that I mentioned during the last meeting is on its way to being posted this week. The RFP for a cleaning service vendor for the Quinn building will close tomorrow, so that'll be open tomorrow. The trash and recycling RFP is up in time as we had hoped for today, and will remain open for bidders to submit proposals until February 18th. So we're on track to meet our timeline for that. My expectation is that we'll have a new contract in front of you for consideration before the end of March. Unrelated to RFPs, but speaking of trash and recycling, the carts we ordered, they're on the way. We'll continue to keep you posted about each of those initiatives. I'm proud to announce tonight something new. This week, I'm signing an executive order creating the City of Methuen's first ever parental leave program for city employees. This was a new benefit provided to Methuen's educators in their new contracts last year, but it has never been available to employees on the city side. In my opinion, no employee should be forced to bank sick time just to welcome a child, whether by birth or adoption. This has historically been a rare benefit for employees in the context of municipal government, and I'm excited that we're finally getting with the times and making a meaningful investment in our municipal workforce that will hopefully serve as a valuable tool to help us retain and attract folks as we keep trying to remain competitive in the context of retaining employees. I'm grateful for your shout out tonight for Superintendent Angelo. He does outstanding work for our city day in and day out, and we are blessed to have him leading our Parks and Recreation Division. I also want to give a shout out to our DPW crews generally. They've been out there in the freezing cold temperatures, dealing with water main breaks. I was in touch with Councilor Valley over the weekend regarding an especially complicated one on Danton Drive this weekend. They do a great job for our residents, and I want them to, of course, be recognized too. The past week we had, of course, what I've been calling Snowmageddon, storm we hadn't seen in roughly 10 years or so in terms of the amount of snow we got. As Linda mentioned, residents did an incredible job during this storm adhering to the new winter parking ban rules. Overnight, when we were first getting that snow on Sunday night, I joined Director Bauer, drove across the city plowing with him, and we drove through the Arlington neighborhood, and there wasn't a single car to be seen on the streets, which made for much more efficient cleanup. We also got to jam out to Steely Dan, which is always great. I also want to acknowledge our police officers for their recent advocacy for a new mental health wellness program. I signed off on implementing that last week, and so now this is going to be a new support system for our officers in the context of mental health, which is great. Speaking of shout outs and recognitions, I'm inviting residents, visitors, and employees to share their thoughts about and their experiences with our local government through a new online feedback form. The form provides an easy way to share compliments, report concerns, offer suggestions, and the like. Every little bit of feedback we get helps us better understand, of course, the community's needs, improve municipal services, but also strengthen the municipal workforce for everyone. Certainly will help us with our shout out section in our internal newsletter. Always great to recognize our staff. Folks can visit Methuen.gov to access the feedback form. Regarding upcoming events, East Table in the East End will be holding a Chinese New Year celebration this Saturday at 12 p.m. As I mentioned before, our city's first ever Dominican Independence Day celebration will be held on Thursday, February 26th at 10 a.m. here at City Hall. We'll have a nice breakfast and it'll be a fun event. Our friends at the Nevins Library are holding a retirement party for Krista McLeod, the outgoing director. That'll be held on Friday, February 13th. I hope you'll join us for that. First Church Congregational's 144th George Washington Dinner will be held on Saturday, February 21st. That's always a great event. The first official Methuen 300 event, a tricentennial concert featuring the Firebird Pops Orchestra, will be held at the high school on March 7th at 5 p.m. As I mentioned during the last meeting, Methuen's St. Patrick's Day Parade, I should say the Merrimack Valley's St. Patrick's Day Parade, now held in Methuen, which is being organized by a group of residents led by Councilor Drew with the help of Councilor DeZoglio, will be held on Saturday, March 21st, beginning at 10 a.m. at Nicholson Stadium. There was an event at the Cottage, and I shared that the city of Methuen is now the place where St. Patrick's Day is no longer just a one-day event. It is now a 2-month celebration. So that is fantastic, a great new tradition for our city. I'll keep sharing reminders about the parade and the Methuen 300 events as we get closer, so all of these events stay on everyone's radar. That'll do it for my mayor's report for tonight. As always, I am happy to answer questions.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Are there any questions for the mayor?
It's not actually a question, and I don't know if this is the right moment, but I would like to thank DPW and Director Bauer for the great job they did on Saturday. That allowed the Shaw's Distribution Center to continue the operation with the second shift. That was like 200 employees. So thank you very much, and you did a great job.
How many employees?
What was that?
How many employees?
200 employees. Yeah.
Okay.
The water main was broken. So they have a schedule 200 employees at 3 p.m. for the second shift.
Excellent.
And since DPW and the mayor responded so fast, and another thing was Director Bauer was in constant communication with the plant manager and kept her informed throughout the repair and the completion of the job. So thank you. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Anything else? Yes, Councilor Marcian.
Thank you. Any word on the rezoning of the 2 schools? You have any update?
So that's something that we're discussing internally about next steps. We're looking at exactly the pathway that we would need to take in order to achieve that. So that's something I'll share maybe a quick status update on that at the next meeting after we firm up the specific details to get that done. But that's something that I'm anxious to accomplish certainly this spring. Thank you, Council.
Councilor DeZoglio.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to give a shout out to the mayor for opening up Ditson Place during the snowstorm. A lot of my neighborhood, the Central West area, do not have parking, and they had to drive down to the stadium. And for the elderly that are in my neighborhood, it just wouldn't be able to be suitable for them. So on my request to asking for the mayor, he got it done within 30 minutes, 40 minutes. So I appreciate that. And I think there was 6-7 cars that were parked down there. So that helped them a lot. So I want to give a shout out to the mayor as well for.
Thank you. Anything else? Okay, Madam Caffo, the floor is yours for your report.
Thank you. So I provided 2 handouts. One was just the updated capital improvement project report. I tried to get the font a little bit bigger. I'll continue to work on that, but really just, updated as those projects are coming along. You'll see too the approved pending contracts column. That's where I put anything that's coming through my office. So you may not have seen those yet. They're in process. But I do put them on there to make sure that we're accounting for them as soon as they get passed through. But nothing's really specific there that I wanted to bring up, just a status update there. The next document is what I want to bring your attention to is now that we've had quite a taste of winter, I thought it would be good to provide a status of our snow and ice accounts. And it's not great. So we've already exceeded our budget by just over $1 million. That's more than we have expended in the last at least 5 years out of that account, and it's February 2nd. So I'm just bringing it forward. This is kind of a standard thing that happens, that we go over this budget, and we'll be back later in the spring. We usually wait until the winter is over so that we have a solid number of where we are, and the mayor and I will bring forward a solution to how we want to cover that come this spring. But I just wanted to give everyone an idea of what that's looking like already, and that's going to be something that we have to address come this spring. That's it for me.
Any questions for the CAFO?
I do want to note too, for our new counselors, these lines are, we are able to go over appropriation on these lines. They're one of the very few that we're able to do that per Mass General Law, but us going over budget is pretty standard and allowed as part of Mass General Law. So I just wanted to, going over appropriation by $1 million sounds scary. I just wanted to mention that.
Okay. Mr. Mayor.
To echo that, this is something just for any new councils, but anyone who's watching as well. This is an annual conversation that we typically have with the council during budget planning time when it comes time to, make reductions in the budget. This is one area, and I know tonnage was the other one last year, but this is the area where typically the budget will come in at a lower number for snow and ice simply because of the fact that we have to pay that expenditure either way just to, move the snow. But ultimately the question comes down as to whether to budget that at the outset or simply make up the difference with, say, free cash whatever source we go to at the end. So this is something that is a strategic discussion at budget time, knowing that either way, it's a bill that we have to cover.
Thank you. Any further questions for the CAFO? I wanted to point something out. The CAFO is currently, you receive your impact statements the day after we submit the agenda. So I encourage you that if you have questions, you have, like last week, we did the agenda Wednesday. We had our impact statement by Thursday. So as soon as you get that, any questions, concerns, please reach out to her as well, or clarifications. Thank you for that, by the way. All right. Request of counselors.
Yes, Madam Chair. I covered some of these during my report, but I'll give an update regarding the IT consolidation because this has been a topic of interest. I know there was a meeting of the Charter Review Committee last week where this came up. So, and the solicitor can chime in to add clarification at any time. But when I initially pushed for this consolidation last year, it was done so under the context of Chapter 278 of the Acts of 2018, which provided local government with the ability to make various adjustments, consolidate various functions to save money, doing so under Chapter 278. And then the issue, though, is although that is a state statute approved by the legislature, there's also Chapter 71, Section 37M, which speaks directly to consolidation of city and school functions. And the issue that we have is that Chapter 278 of the Acts of 2018 and Chapter 71, Section 37M don't exactly jive by way of, I guess, the way that you can accomplish this. And so long and short of it is that given the fact that Chapter 71, Section 37M clearly outlines a process separate from 278 that states that if you want to achieve consolidation of, say, city and school functions, you need to do so by way of a vote of the city council, of course, but also the school committee. And so we're at a point now where, I think this ongoing lawsuit is silly, a waste of money, frankly, at this point, given the fact that, I think that the discussion we had in court with the judge, clearly indicated that although we had 278 on the books, she was really looking at Chapter 71, Section 37M, which provides a clear roadmap. And so, going forward, based on my own conversations with members of the school committee, there is an interest in having options on the table that would save money for the district, while also, of course, being cognizant of maintaining, high operational standards and not impacting, say, the way that we're providing these services to the schools. And so, this is something that I think it is certainly an ongoing conversation, but I want to get us to a point where, hypothetically, we're going to be dealing with a difficult budget. If we can have a framework that the school committee is on board with and the city council that would achieve those cost savings, but also ensure that we are maintaining those proper standards of, the services we're providing by way of IT to the schools. I think that that's something from what I've heard in just offhand discussions, it's something that folks would be generally open to. It's common sense idea that I think is widely embraced. And so, I think given the fact that there is this state statute that directly addresses this, we have a path forward. I think it's a matter of, continuing this conversation and getting us to a point where we can have a strategy moving forward that'll get the votes across the board to get this done. And so I thought I would bring you up to speed on that. There's some nuances in the statute between 278 and 37M that have caused some conflict. And despite that, I think we have a path forward. Something that I mentioned previously in an interview, I think with the Eagle Tribune, was that, I think aside from IT, we've already gotten to a point where we have and I think an excellent picture of what consolidation, what increased collaboration between the city and schools should look like by way of the collaboration regarding facilities. And I pointed out the example of how one of the main drivers of the pest issues at the Timony School It was the overgrown trees and brush in the courtyards at the Timony. These overgrown trees were coming right up against the building. And so that provides easy access for, say, rodents, hypothetically, to be able to get from the courtyard to the building and cause all sorts of trouble. And, you know, in a situation like that, typically a municipality might, you know, go out to get some quotes from a vendor to see, you know, who can come in and take care of trimming all that back and cleaning that up. But instead of doing that, we have those resources in DPW. We have the equipment, we have the staff. And so rather than going out to pay for, say, a third-party vendor to do that work, we have the ability to do it in-house. And so we did that, and that was tremendously successful. And the school district leadership was on board with it. The school committee was enthusiastic about it. Certainly, I think all of us were happy with the results of that as well. And, you know, I think that given the fact that we have that statutory framework, but also we have a great picture of it already working at the local level, you know, that's the type of conversation that I think we ought to have in a way that's non-adversarial and actually gets the job done at the end of the day. So I wanted to share that update. Aside from that, we have everything else here moving along. The RFP, the barrel situation is being sorted out with that upcoming delivery. And of course, that DESI meeting has reaped benefits for us as well.
Any follow-up questions for the mayor? I have a question, Mr. Mayor. So in regards to the IT department consolidation, Member Willett, and I can personally name him because he said that, you know, feel free. He indicated that he wanted to place that on your agenda for the next meeting. Whether that has been requested or not, I'm not sure. But you mentioned 37M, correct? So if they place that on their agenda and it's voted down, then obviously there is no want to really consolidate, right? Because that's where you put the rubber to the ground. When you put something to vote, and if they vote no, then we don't want it. Now, they put that on the agenda, it gets voted down. Obviously, there's nothing we do here. It passes there, then it would come to this council floor. But the end game is, Mr. Mayor, you would have to be on board with that. So I want to ask you on the floor, is that something that you are? I know months behind that was something you wanted to do, but right now, is that something that you still want to do? And my urgency to ask you that on the floor is because at that meeting that we had, unbeknownst to us, I guess you had something, an emergency or something, you were not present, your chief of staff was here. And he, you know, he stated on your behalf that, yeah, you wanted to do this. But my question to you on the floor is that something that you actually want to do if it does pass over at the school committee brought here, and then the end game is whether we both could want it, but unless you say, yes, I'm going to execute, it's not going to happen.
Right. So at the end of the day, my ultimate objective is to save money, number one, but number two, be able to free up resources so that we're not in this constant annual conversation about teacher layoffs, if there are areas where we can truly save money. But also, of course, keep in mind that, you know, we don't want, as I mentioned, impact the IT service we're providing to our students, teachers, and the like. Ultimately, I know I've had a conversation, I'll speak freely about it. I know it was a private conversation with Member Willett, but since we're referencing that conversation generally, you know, he did indicate, you know, hey, I'm ready for a plan at the next meeting. The thing that I want to do is I want to do this the right way after having gone through the process of dealing with the lawsuit and all this stuff. I want to make sure that we measure twice and cut once instead of going the other way around. And so rather than just going ahead and putting, say, a framework on the table for a vote, what I would prefer to do is have, in essence, some workshops with the school committee, talk through exactly the way that we would want to see this work. Again, I'm on board 100%. I've been on board 100%, given the context that we need to save money, we need to make things more efficient, we need some structural reforms, no doubt. But at the same time, we need to get the votes of the school committee. I don't want to waste my time pursuing a plan that's just going to be shot out of the sky right out of the gate. It would have to be a framework that passes muster with the city council. And so long and short of it, this is something that I want to work towards in terms of a cost savings reform, but I want it to be done in a collaborative way with the school committee, with the city council, so that it's an area that we can tackle properly and have it done, as I mentioned, the right way that has the support of the public, the support of our elected bodies. I don't think that the adversarial nature of the discussion is productive. It's not really getting us anywhere. And I know I've also expressed, too, the fact that we already have right now a significant amount of leadership upheaval in the district. Now, granted, there's an argument to be made that, this is the time for this conversation. And I'm on board, again, if we can get the support of the school committee. But I guess long and short of it, the bottom line is that we wouldn't have a plan coming to the school committee for a consolidation or a reorg and then have that pass and come to you if I wasn't putting it forward and advocating for it. So that's the long and short of my response.
So to piggyback on that, the Charter Commission, that meeting was for the Charter Commission would decide whether to add consolidation to that charter. And so at that point, you still have to be on board to do it, because if not.
Right. Well, this is the thing. So any consolidation along these lines, it would be offered by me. The framework would be offered by me for the school committee's consideration and discussion. So,
So you're saying whether we do it or they do it, you're going to do it. It's just not now.
Well,
Is
and I
that
don't
what I'm
want to,
understanding?
I'm trying to be careful with the specific time. I long and short of it, I want to get it right, do it the correct way, and have a plan that actually gets your vote and the school committee's vote, rather than run around in circles and have this be a constant conflict. So once we get to that point, I think that's our path forward.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Gisoglio.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to kind of piggy off what the mayor said, because I was on school when we decided to file that lawsuit. The question was, there was no plan in place, and a lot of us were very discouraged of who would be actually saving money. Was it going to be money for the school department or for the city saving money, or both? And we really didn't have legitimate answers. And I think what the mayor's trying to say of doing it the right way, if we had a plan in place of how the service was going to be done, is our department people are going to still do the Chromebooks? Or, you know what I mean? The breakdown of who's going to be in charge of what. And at the end of the day, is that money coming back to the schools, or is it going to go back into the city? So in supporting the mayor, just because I was on the other side, that the only way you're going to get those people, get the members of the school committee on board for some of those members, you need to provide them with a plan. And I'm thinking that, do we have a deadline where you want to present a plan? I think that would be more reassuring for all of us. But I am totally in support that you need to bring a plan to that school committee before they even will vote. So, but do you have a deadline where you want to do this?
Yeah, so, I think that this is a good discussion to have, a good project to tackle in the lead up to when we adopt our budget. Certainly, I think that, this, of course, comes down to a budget question. Now, when it came to the original executive order that triggered this whole conversation, the goal was to begin that process of information sharing between the city, the school district, and there, I think, if you kind of get under the hood of this broader conflict, I think that on the school side, they have their own system, their own people, et cetera, in place. On the city side, we have our own system, our own people. And so I think stemming from that aspect of things, there was this concern where, well, who's staying, who's going? Like, what are we going to be looking at in that context? And it got to be a very almost personal conversation when I'm trying to keep that out of it, where all I'm looking to do is find a way to do two things, as I've referenced and I'll continue to reference: saving money, making government more efficient, but also ensuring that we're maintaining the operational standards that we need to maintain. And so, ultimately, another point that I want to make. I know that the charter allows for the city council to propose certain reorg plans and the like. That's also a function of the administration. And so the path forward that I'm recommending and that I would like to pursue is that, given the fact that there is widespread interest in this, I was the one who started this whole thing last year also. I think we need to have me as the mayor and the chair of the school committee be the bridge, because again, we don't want to be wasting our time. We don't want to be just on this constant wheel going around and around, not actually getting to a solution. And the only way to do that is to have a conversation, have a series of conversations, I think, series of workshops and planning conversations, and have a framework that is developed in conjunction with the school committee and the city council. Because again, if you don't get the votes on the school committee, if you don't get the votes for it on the city council, it's yet another waste of time. And so my goal is to, find a way to, achieve these cost savings and increased efficiency, but in an efficient way that gets the votes needed for passage rather than more conflict. And one other thing too, we were talking about the buckets, right? Where does the savings lie? Keep in mind that at the end of the day, I know we get stuck in this pattern sometimes of thinking, oh, city, schools, it's all the same bucket. So just keep that in mind.
Thank you. Moving on the agenda, public service grants, there's none. Licenses, GameStop, number 3596, 184 Havel Street, Methuen, Mass. 01844. This is a renewal. Backup has been provided to you. May I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion from Counselor DeZoglio, seconded by Counselor Valley. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. Motion carries. Thank you. Vehicle for hire. Beroa Transportation LLC, 142 Pleasant Valley Street, apartment 180-203, Methuen, Mass. 01844. This is a new license. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Motion by Counselor Valley.
Second.
Second by Counselor Pesh. Discussion. Seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Thank you. You want me to sign those now? Would you like to take those this evening? Okay, thank you. Thank you for being here. Okay. Contracts, C20, oh geez, I need my glasses, excuse me. C2669, Motorola Solutions, Inc., 500 West Monroe Street, Chicago, Illinois, 60661, for 8,000 base radio Astro system release, power efficiency package, and rack mounts in the amount of $60,199.44. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Motion by Counselor Valley, seconded by Counselor Pesh. Any discussion on this contract? Seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. Motion carries. Contracts, C2670, Cyber Communication, Inc., 56 Holton Street, Woburn, Mass. 01801, for VHF antennas and cables at Forest Street, Tank and Pie Hill Receiver Site in the amount of $37,083.88. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Counselor Deuce, seconded by Counselor Valley. Discussion. Seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. Motion carries. Other officers and committee reports. I want to report Counselor McLaren had her first meeting. She will be doing her report on the ad hoc committee for the sound and lighting in this room. She will be doing that next week because she's not here. Counselor Marsan.
Thank you, Chair. We had a first Economic Development Committee meeting. We did our housekeeping. We got going. We went over our goals and such. At our next meeting that we have scheduled, trying to get the hall available. We'll have a better analysis of what our true goals and how we can assist Jack Wilson and with the new coordinator, if that person's on board, and hopefully we can have a lot of input with that coordinator assisting us in with the businesses of the community, so getting permitted and licenses. So those are our goals. Thank you.
Perfect, thank you. Any other meetings or, I also want to announce Counselor Samard is part of the Veteran Affairs Committee with Counselor DeZoglio.
Yes. Yes. So we'll be setting up that meeting after tonight, and also the Public Safety
Perfect.
Committee.
Thank you, Counselor. Moving on to unfinished business, resolutions. TR 26-3, a resolution accepting a conservation easement at 799 Lowell Street, Methuen, Mass. Pursuant to MGL C40, Section 8C. Motion to approve.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Counselor Valley, seconded by Counselor Pesh. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous, motion carries. TR 26-4, resolution approving a tax increment financing agreement by and among the City of Methuen, Eagle Management Co. LLC, DBA Eagle Woodworking, and 189 North Main Street LLC, requested by the Mayor and the Director of Economic and Community Development, Jack Wilson. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Counselor Valley, seconded by Counselor Drew. Discussion. Did you have your rate? Okay. Seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. Motion carries. Okay. TR 26-5, resolution requesting comprehensive condition, safety, and capital needs audit of all city-owned parks and public spaces, sponsored by Counselor Drew. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Counselor DeZoglio, seconded by Counselor Valley. Discussion. Counselor Valley. No? Okay. No further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries, unanimous. TR 26-6, resolution requesting comprehensive facilities condition, risk, and capital needs audit on all non-school city-owned buildings and facilities, sponsored by Counselor John Drew. Motion to approve.
So moved. Second.
Second.
Motion by Counselor Valley, seconded by Counselor Pesh. Discussion. Seeing none. All those in favor? Oh,
Aye.
Counselor, did you have a question?
Yes, I do.
Sorry.
I just want to add something to the resolution. I would like to prioritize some buildings and maybe made a motion to amend if needed, because I feel that it should be divided into two steps. And this is something that I was able to discuss with Council Drew earlier today, that we should prioritize City Hall, Searle Estate, the Police Department, Fire Department, and DPW. Once the comprehensive condition risk is the audit is done, we should prioritize these 5 buildings first and bring it to the table so that we can come up with a plan on what needs to be done, because there's so many ideas and we all know that we need these facilities to be rebuilt, replaced, but we need something in paper.
So to better understand the amendment, Counselor, you're asking for this, and I guess you referenced that you both spoke,
Yes.
Counselor?
Yeah, we did speak earlier this afternoon on this. She had some questions, and I had referenced that I believe this would be part of the RFP process, and I didn't have a chance to speak with the solicitor on this, or the mayor, that the RFP would just have to be written in that those 5 properties that you're looking at would have to be, once they're done, we want those immediately brought to the council as quickly as possible before they continue on with the remainder of the audit, as I believe what we were discussing.
Correct.
Okay, so if we look at TR 26-6, where would you like that language added to prioritize those buildings in the RFP? Because if they're not mentioned, how do we know that the person is going to prioritize them? So if you guys could let me know where you'd like that added. Mr. Mayor, do I see you nodding?
I'm just, I think I've mentioned this before, I'll mention it again. So just so you know, I certainly appreciate the councilor's sense of urgency about those properties. I know you had to tour the fire station, which is in deplorable condition. DPW building is in deplorable condition, Quinn building, et cetera. So we are right now engaging actively in it's like a feasibility study, needs assessment, or originally it was the public works element, but we're building into that with the vendor the public safety side of it as well. So that is something that is being dealt with right now as we speak. So in the context of urgency, I think that that would certainly help meet that. But you know, one thing to keep in mind typically with these consultants is, you know, I guess we could try to build in an ask of them to maybe prioritize certain things and give us multiple reports, I guess, you know, having the priority ones first and then a follow-up presentation. But typically what they'll do is they'll do their work in terms of an assessment, and then they'll come back with, you know, one complete presentation that goes through everything versus, you know, breaking it down and doing certain things first or not. But I guess if it's something that you want to include as perhaps something we consider in the RFP, then that might make sense. But in a functional sense, it might be interesting to see how that plays out.
Councilor Drew.
I didn't see it as a need to be put into this directly, as more of a directive to the mayor when writing the RFP. I know we had discussed, because I didn't see where it would fit properly, because at that point I believe we're directing the mayor to do certain things, and it's not really within our jurisdiction to do that, is my understanding. So I think it's more of a request from us to make sure that that RFP is represented, to understand that those top 5 buildings are the hot items for us, knowing that that is a major issue that we see. So we're not going to continue to throw good money at bad, so we can be better informed as we continue down the path throughout the year.
Before I go back to Councilor Santos, can I have clarification on directing the mayor to do or not to do through a resolution, just for clarity on the floor with new councilors?
So you can request that the mayor do that. I mean, if you want to include language that says something like, to the extent feasible, the council requests the mayor to ask the consultant to prioritize the following city buildings, you can do that. I mean, I think there's a lot of variables here with so many buildings, so it may turn out, he certainly can do it in the RFP as well without any additional language. So, you know, this is a comprehensive audit, so I think that, you know, it's difficult to specify what you're looking for without starting it.
Councilor Santos.
Do we have a deadline on where the consultants are going to have the report ready?
Are you thinking of for the needs assessment, that current
Correct.
effort? So specifically in terms of a deadline, Director Bauer, I don't know if you can add any extra color about that. Director Bauer's been in touch frequently with Weston and Sampson. This is the contractor that's helping us with this. We had a meeting with a representative from Weston and Sampson roughly a week or so ago to go through some concept plans that they have done in this context. So feel free to add in any additional details.
So through you, Madam Chair, so there is no deadline. It's sort of open-ended with them. They're really waiting on the city to provide locations.
I've been working with this consultant since I think 2018. So we've gone around and around on everything we're going to need. They've done all of the work they can do up to a point where they need a location. So they can't complete the design. So this is DPW facility specifically. So we met with the mayor. We talked about different locations, different options we have, and there's some good positive thoughts on that, I thought. And the idea now is with the condition of the police and fire facilities that we do a similar look at what they're going to need, which is basically they meet with everybody there, and they'll have an idea of certain space that's required for sergeants and captains and things like that, and they'll come up with what you need for a baseline square footage for a police department. But really, what it comes down to, and the struggle that the city is having, is where that goes. You know, if it stays at the Quinn Building, how do we run a police department there while we're doing these renovations? So to answer your question, there is no deadline on it. They're kind of waiting on us to provide them some information.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All set?
I just feel that nothing is on paper. Nothing is, it's just, it feels that it's just an idea. They're waiting for us to make a decision on moving forward. A decision needs to be made of whether or not the police department, the fire, where are this building going to be placed? It's a beautiful idea to have them all together in the same space. Believe me, I would love to see that. But if we don't have a space to put them on, then we need to move forward and see other options.
Councilor Drew?
Just a point of order to this resolution that's on the table. We do have a 120-day requirement in here for this report once the contract is executed. So we're asking when we get this comprehensive report to see it back to us within 120 days. As for the other items with the structures and that type of thing, that's a larger conversation that I think is part of this, but it isn't directly assimilated to this ordinance or this resolution that we're looking at right now.
Yeah, I saw that.
So I need clarification if there is an amendment on the floor or not to add and prioritize the buildings that were mentioned. And then if that, so is that amendment on the floor to add this to this resolution? Councilor Santos, because that came from you.
Yes, I would like the amendment on the.
Okay, could you clarify that language?
Yes, please.
So that if it gets a
I would like to
second.
amend the resolution to have prioritize the fire department, the police department, and DPWs, as well as the city hall and Fairless State, when those reports are done, to be submitted to the floor, to the council.
Prior to the 120 days?
At the 120 days.
Is there a second? Seeing none, that motion fails. Councilor Drew, did you have something to say?
I only didn't second that amendment only because we should have said more on the prior to the 120, the immediate upon it being completed.
So if it's prior to the 120 days, will you accept it?
I mean, the 120 days does seem pretty reasonable.
If I may, I think we're breaking
Splitting
up.
hairs.
I think we're breaking up a report that we want the mayor to get done to us. I think at that point, once he has that report, you can have a conversation with the mayor to work on getting those buildings clarified. That's my friendly recommendation, Councilor. And if that's okay with you, Councilor Drew. So if that's okay with you guys, I'd like to take this to vote. Councilor Marsan.
Just to the capo, we think this is only going to cost $50,000 for this comprehensive audit? I know you have a rough estimate, but...
No, that was the parks one. So this, we're talking about the buildings, if I'm correct. That, I think, is going to be much more, like 6 figures plus. So based on what I've seen, what I've kind of very general estimates, I think it's going to be closer to 300,000.
All set, Councilor?
Yeah.
Counselor Marsan. Simard.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yes.
My concern, obviously, is the cost of this. And again, if I was in favor of it, I may not be in favor of the cost once we vote on the vendor. But, Mayor, if you can clarify, do you think that this audit would duplicate some of the feasibility studies that are being done where we're going to, maybe waste money?
Well, so this is something that I spoke to during the last meeting where, broadly speaking, the spirit of the resolution, first of all, I want to point out that a resolution, it's not an ordinance by way of, this is not like a law, right? This is a request of the administration to go about this exercise. And, however that ultimately comes to fruition, whether it is, say, through an all-encompassing audit, if we're able to find a vendor who's able to do that work inside of a 120-day span, that might be something we might want to include in the RFP where, hey, whatever companies, you need to commit to not just doing this, but doing it within 120 days. There may be a chance that hypothetically a company could say, well, I'd be willing to help you with an audit, but I don't want to hold my company to getting it done within 120 days. And so they may not necessarily bid, hypothetically, right? There could be those nuances at play that we don't know about. But I think the long and short of it is that Councilor Drew, just based on my own conversations with the councilor, his focus here is on trying to ensure that we take a more intentional, strategic, data-driven approach to our capital planning. Right now, we have a CIP. We continue to update that year after year, adding to the look ahead for the next couple of years. And that's based on insights from department heads, from Director Bauer, from Chief McNamara, from Chief Toto, et cetera. These folks, of course, are intimately, aware of the issues that exist in their facilities, and they make recommendations accordingly. But I don't think it hurts for us to, rather than, not saying that their feedback doesn't matter, it certainly does. But, in this context, this is asking a third-party vendor, someone with, an outside pair of eyes to come in and take a look from top to bottom at our facilities and help maybe guide us, provide us with a blueprint in terms of capital planning, suggesting maybe things that we might be missing. You never know, right? And so I think as an exercise, it certainly doesn't hurt. I think it remains to be seen what we get in terms of the RFP process, in terms of cost, in terms of the specifics. But by way of the resolution, it's not saying that it is now the law of the land that I shall find a company to get this done in 120 days or else I face some sort of consequence. I don't think that that's necessarily the case. I don't think also that this dictates that we must go with a particular vendor or spend a particular amount of money. Ultimately, this would be subject to a vote of the council for approval of a contract, appropriating funds. So this isn't the be-all, end-all, in my opinion. This is simply an ask of the administration to maybe rethink the way that we are going about capital planning, to be more strategic, be more data-driven. I'm all for it. I think it's something that we need to do. And interestingly enough, one of the things that the CAFO found in terms of research was that there aren't really a ton of examples of this, because it's something that most municipalities, I don't think they're doing this level of work. And so this would help us, I think, go a step further in terms of setting a new standard for other municipalities to perhaps model by way of doing this advanced planning. And, I think it's something that makes sense, and I'm in favor of it. And again, it doesn't really marry us to a specific dollar amount or anything beyond the ask of the administration.
Thank you. All set.
Thank you.
Just a
Councilor
point
Drew.
of clarification to the 120-day line, it does have language in there that if there is a deviation that's required, it would just be relayed to the council at the time. That's all.
Okay. Any other discussion? I'm going to vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimous. TR 26-7, resolution authorizing acceptance of a gift of $2,000 from Digital Federal Credit Union to support the Methuen Police Department requested by the mayor. Motion to accept.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Drew, seconded by Councilor Valley. Discussion. Seeing none, All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous, motion carries. Ordinances. TO 26-4, an ordinance amending the wage and salary classification plan unaffiliated to add the new position of Economic Development Coordinator requested by the mayor. I need a motion to remove from the table.
So moved.
Motion by Counselor DiZoglio,
Second.
seconded by Counselor Valley. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous, motion carries. On the main motion, an ordinance amending the wage and salary classification plan unaffiliated to add a new position of Economic Development Coordinator requested by the mayor. Motion to approve.
So, second.
Motion by Counselor Marsan, seconded by Counselor Valley. Discussion.
Madam Chair.
Yes,
I do
Counselor
have
Valley.
questions for the mayor. What KPIs will be tied to this position for performance evaluation?
So this is something that has not been included in the job description just because it's something that I think would be more relative to the review process that we would establish going forward. But as someone who was in an economic development coordinator role, I worked for the town of Arlington years ago in a capacity along nearly identical lines. There are, I think, broadly speaking, very clear-cut indicators as to how well a person does in a role like this. So right out of the gate, I have very specific thoughts, and I know I've talked with the chair about this extensively. I know this is something that we're going to continue to discuss as we roll this out. But right out of the gate, there's a specific set of goals that I have right at the baseline where, we need a enhanced focus, in essence, doubling down on our current efforts, where this person would have two main functions. They would be overall living and breathing small business inside of this building, in essence being that point person that, provides for the opportunity for an entrepreneur with, say, an idea, right? Instead of having to go from office to office and navigate the bureaucracy on their own, they would have somebody who would provide them with, okay, hey, you want to open a restaurant? Here's your checklist. Let's go through it together and walk them through that process. And so I think that simply right out of the gate, we're going to get feedback from entrepreneurs who are working with whoever this person is in terms of the service that they're getting. And I think that's going to be something that will be very insightful. So right out of the gate, helping entrepreneurs. But beyond that, going out there and hitting the road is the other function of this position, where we need somebody who is going to, again, live and breathe the selling of Methuen to entrepreneurs from, say, other parts of the Commonwealth. We have such an outstanding workforce here in the Merrimack Valley. Our location is incredible. There's some challenges for retail, given the fact that we have New Hampshire right across the border. But aside from that, we're really an ideal location in terms of our competitive commercial tax rate, relatively speaking. And so we're going to see the fruits of this person's labor with our own eyes by way of more interest in our city, more folks trying to come to the city, and also, I think, more initiatives that come before the council to proactively get ahead of things like zoning, right? Like if we know along, say, the Lowell Street Belt, we want to zone for perhaps maybe more manufacturing or biotech or whatever industry we want to attract, this person would also be someone who works alongside Jack to bring those zoning initiatives to us so that we can have a red carpet laid out for entrepreneurs and be very intentional about the economic future we want for the community. So, I think there are KPIs to be discussed by way of building this out once we move forward. But at the same time, too, I think the greatest KPIs will be what we see, what we hear. I know entrepreneurs certainly aren't shy about coming to us and sharing their concerns and their ideas. I think there's going to be an opportunity for a formal review process. But beyond that, this is going to be someone who's going to work hand in hand with all of you as well.
Counselor DiZoglio.
I was thank you through you, Madam Chair. So the question I have, this is a new position. When it comes to the salary, where did you look at to come up with the salary?
So I have perhaps the unique benefit of knowing many other people in this type of role, given the fact that I was colleagues with many folks who were in this type of function. And I'll just be upfront and transparent. So one individual who I stay in close touch with is Allie Carter. She's the Economic Development Coordinator for the City of Lowell and is doing an incredible job in the City of Lowell, working to revitalize their downtown and bring in new businesses and the like. And also what you'll do is that they set up seminars and the like that are sponsored by the city, but they're for business owners in the community. And so it's very Lowell specific. She was my predecessor in Arlington. And so, you know, just in conversation with other people in this type of role, we would want to get as close to the $100,000 mark as we possibly can in order to be competitive and attract maybe people from other communities. This current proposal is in alignment with what we have for another position in the department. And so it gets us pretty darn close to that point, especially at the higher steps, which would be dependent on experience and the like. But the goal is to remain as competitive as possible with other communities that are also actively seeking this type of employee. And so I think we're able to do that in a responsible way. Granted, this is brand new for us. And so I also don't want to go too far overboard, but you know, the thinking is that this fits within the context of the current department as salaries in that department exist now, while getting us as close as we can to that point where there's this widespread recognition of being competitive or not.
Yeah.
Just a follow-up.
Counselor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the last question is, when it comes to budget season, there is other departments that I know have been seeking extra help for quite time. I just am afraid that they might be shortchanged if this goes through, but then come budget season, they get cut. So I'm just trying to be caution when it comes to this position, but it is a revenue generated position. That's how I look at this. So that's why I'm kind of for it, but I just want also reassurance that there are departments that I know that have been asking for help for quite a while.
Right.
And we have had these talks. I just want to make sure those people also get, I'm not trying to put pressure on you, but it's just we put a position in and then someone else gets shortchanged. That's just my concern
Thank
about
you,
this.
Counselor.
Capo, something to add?
Oh, Madam Capo, sorry.
No, I just wanted to make note that this position is currently in the fiscal year 26 budget, so it would not be an add for next year. It's already in the budget.
Excellent point.
I will say along those lines that I am cognizant of the fact that many of our departments, including economic and community development, are woefully short-staffed. But also, you know, we need to continue to build out our inspections team, and we need to add, I think, some diversity to our inspections team as well. And then, not to mention, too, there are so many other areas. DPW is short-staffed, the PD, fire department, even our schools in certain areas are certainly short-staffed as well. So I'm cognizant of all of that and sensitive to the fact that we need to make investments like this, but be aware that we need to also not leave other departments in the dust.
Counselor Santos, and I'm going to Counselor Samard.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just have a quick question. So this person is going to be responsible for bringing new businesses to our city, which is a great idea. Is this person also going to be responsible to serve our current small businesses?
Yes. So I envision this type of role where this person will be focusing on being that active, present force for our current business community, always accessible to business owners that are in need of assistance, but also, of course, splitting that time with going out on visits with entrepreneurs and actively selling Methuen and perhaps bringing in Director Wilson, myself in to help with, say, closing those opportunities and closing the loop. So I certainly view it as a two-prong approach that would involve service to existing businesses, but also built in there a focus on trying to get out there on the road and present Methuen in the best possible light to interested entrepreneurs.
And are we also allocating any kind of funds to assist the current business owners that we currently have in our city to help them improve their businesses?
So I think that, when it comes to the traditional role of economic development coordinator in many other municipalities, this is also a person who, as part of their function, would help with going after grants in the context of business support, entrepreneurship, et cetera. So I think a part of this, aside from these other functions that we're discussing, this would be revenue generating by way of, their support in the context of grants. So, I think that if we're able to, say, secure a grant to be able to launch, perhaps, I know this has been tried before, Councilor Marson, you might be familiar with this from years ago, but, perhaps securing a grant to initiate like a facade improvement program in downtown, things like that. I would certainly envision that being a part of this. I know it's been tried before with varying degrees of success, but it is something that is a tool that other municipalities are embracing, and certainly I think we could benefit from that too. Another thing that I want to mention is the idea of, not to sound like a nerd, but getting involved in the context of placemaking, the idea of trying to find creative ways to bring people in foot traffic to our downtown, maybe in ways that we don't see now. For instance, a couple of years back, I worked with former Mayor Perry and his team on trying to bring some life to Riverwalk Park on Osgood Street. Now, granted, this event was a disaster because it got rained out, and imbecile here didn't pick a rain date. That's a good lesson learned. But we brought in a group from Lawrence called Let's Pop Market. And it's a group that they're able to set up a pop-up market in any location. It could be in a parking lot. It could be in, say, a park or recreational area. And we combine that with what was then Spicket River Brewery, where we brought in a truck from Spicket River Brewery, and they were able to try to serve some food and adult beverages and the like. And so it was an actual experience where people would come to this location in downtown where they otherwise might not be shopping or getting a bite to eat or trying, a craft brew or something like that. And we literally set up a place for that. And we use that concept to, in essence, activate a space that otherwise wouldn't have that. And so these are the creative things that I would want to see this person chasing after and making, creating those opportunities for people to come to our downtown, to be able to come to, Riverside Park over in the West End and have it be utilized in a way that it might not otherwise be utilized without that intentional placemaking effort.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes.
Just for clarification to myself, so this person is going to be responsible not only to bring new businesses, but also to serve the current businesses that we have, as well as looking out for grants to improve the businesses that we have. And just a quick question, who is this person going to report to?
So this would be within the Department of Economic and Community Development. So they would report to Director Wilson, of course, with me as well, being the mayor, but it would be directly reporting to Mr. Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Samard.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm glad we have the 80,000 in the budget, and I think we do lack in new growth. Lowell's a lot bigger, a huge tax base compared to ours. My concern is come budget season, if there's a barometer or some way we could prove that that person is worth this salary. I think it's a generous salary for that assistant. Is there a way you can come to us saying this is what this person has done? I know it's only 3.5 months to budget season, but I hope there's a way we can measure his success, not only accommodating growth, but also generating growth. So I'm hoping that you can do that come budget season.
Absolutely. I think part of this will be this ongoing conversation and highlighting, whatever wins this person is able to get under their belt. And I think that the more that we demonstrate the value add of the position, I think that will probably increase our comfort level, but also increase the return on investment that we would get over time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Marchand, did you have something to add?
So we need this person. I've been an advocate for this for years. I think it's going to pay off. Hopefully you'll utilize our committee and myself so that we can help, and I can help assist in this person because of my expertise here. Thank you.
Absolutely. I would envision this person being an active member of the Economic Development Committee and working closely with all of you and moving the ball down the field, getting points on the board.
Mr. Mayor, that economic development has been added to their roster. So for now, it's Mr. Jack Wilson until that person comes in. Thank you. So any further discussion? If not, we'll go to vote. Councilor Valley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you to the CAFO, I just have a question for educational purposes. Like if a budgeted position is not filled immediately, where are those funds allocated? Like in this case, we have 3.5 months,
So it'll stay in that department and either support that department in other ways if necessary, or it will just fall to the bottom line at the end of the year, the surplus.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Yep.
Perfect. No further discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. Motion carries. TO 26-5, an ordinance amending the wage and salary schedule of Chapter 6, Section 6-5 of the Methuen Municipal Code, Department of Public Works Employees Association by adding the position of Sanitation Zero Waste Coordinator. I need a motion to remove from the table.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Drew, seconded by Councilor Pesh. Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Are you opposed, Councilor Santos?
No.
Okay, then you wait for discussion, for the next discussion. Thank you. On the main motion, can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Councilor Valley, seconded by Councilor DeZoglio. Discussion. The floor is yours, Santos. Thank you, Councilor.
I just have a quick question. Would this position be posted in the website? Because I was just a little bit confused, just for my personal information.
Sure. So the way the process would work is that if the council were to approve the creation of the position by adding it to the wage and salary classification plan, what we would then be able to do is take that job posting that we had shared as a supporting document and post that on the website, and then that is the point at which you would see it on the listing of available opportunities. And so this is the formal process by which I received the green light from the City Council to go ahead and actually move forward with posting and then hiring the individual for the position.
And I just want, Madam Chair, I just have another question. So while I was reviewing this, I was unclear on what are the certificate or education requirements to fill this position.
So for a position like this, because it's going to be largely a customer-facing position by way of, I don't want to say even customer, more like a constituent-facing position. It's probably a better word in this context. This isn't something that would require any, say, level of specific credentialing. The goal, of course, will be to find somebody perhaps with a background in sanitation, public health, things like that. But by way of any specific licensure, this wouldn't require that. What we would be looking mainly for is the ability for somebody to communicate with residents, to be able to draw their attention to, for instance, our ordinance, to be able to work in concert with Director Bauer, Deputy Director Garcia, the new trash vendor, on resolving various issues, and ultimately being the point person on the city side for the trash program. And so, that's going to require somebody with, a good work ethic, strong organizational skills, excellent interpersonal skills, and, be fantastic if we're able to work with somebody who is able to communicate with Spanish speakers in our community. That's very important as well. So, ultimately this would be that person who would not just own the trash program, but the goal in increasing compliance with that ordinance is to ultimately reduce our tonnage costs, which of course are outrageous and I call it a budget buster. So ultimately the goal here is to help us reduce our costs versus, say, the economic development role. The goal there is to help us grow our commercial tax base. So that's the thought here.
For the sake of time, I'm going to move over to Councilor Valley, and then I'll go to Zaga, then I'll come back to you.
Okay.
Thank you, Councilor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you to the mayor. Mr. Mayor, I remember we had a conversation last year regarding this position. And if I'm not mistaken, you informed me that the landfill caretaker will be transferred into this role. Did that transfer occur or what happened?
So the thing about this role is that it was included in the budget. It hadn't been formally established as a position, and Director Bauer, I don't know if you want to add any additional color here, but there was this individual who primarily worked at the transfer station who had a lot of these outstanding skills and an interest in trying to get involved with this type of work. And so, by way of her role as somebody who was employed at the transfer station, that's certainly within the context of trash, she had started to test out some of the functions of what this might look like, but not in this role specifically, simply because it hadn't been created yet. So I don't know if Director Bauer wants to add to that, but the thinking was to try to pilot some concepts and see how it would work, having somebody actually out there in the field, on the ground, dealing directly with people. And from our discussions, I know that it was something that was widely seen as a help in many cases.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you put it very well, Mayor. So we do have someone that's very interested in this position. It's no secret that this is coming, it was in the budget, so we had a lot of discussions. This is something that we worked on with Mayor Perry some time ago. The good news, I'm very excited about this position. We actually did run a few pilot programs, and we had this person from the transfer, who runs the scale house at the transfer station now, go out and on trash day, review what was in people's recycling, and more importantly, interact with people. And I can tell you, it was wildly successful. We started in the neighborhoods where we had problems with contamination. People were just using the recycle bin as an additional trash bin. But we resolved many of the issues, if not all of the issues, just by speaking to people. They just didn't know. So the education component of this is going to be invaluable for us. And I can tell you, just those few weeks we spent out interacting with the public was wildly successful. So very excited to have this position finally started, especially with the potential new contract coming up. So perfect timing.
So, Mr. Mayor, excuse me, Madam Chair, the floor is mine, right? So if the position is going to be filled internally, the question that Councilor Santos asked about the website, so it's not going to be posted.
Oh, so we're required by law, by ordinance, to post the position, and so this will be open for anybody in the public to apply for. And I don't want to make any specific guarantees. Right. We can't do that certainly, but this would be something that will be properly posted, maintained on the website, publicly per the ordinance for people to apply. And we want to leave every option on the table and see who comes forward and proceed from there. Something else too, and this is something that is new. So originally, when we placed this in the budget, we didn't have on our radar at the time that we have a recycling dividends grant. And one of the expenditures that we're able to make using that grant is for a zero waste / sanitation coordinator. And so although we added this to the budget, it's in the budget, we may need to tap into it, depending on a host of factors, I'm not sure, but for the most part, we're going to be able to use that grant to help pay for this, and that's going to reduce the financial impact, at least at the outset. And we have that grant for multiple years. So hypothetically, if this position works out and achieves the results that we're looking for, and we want to hold on to it, then what's going to be very helpful is having that grant offset the cost that we would otherwise need to go to the budget for.
Okay, one of my concerns is, and we hear that from Linda Susie, like the neighborhoods that will need the education the most are Spanish speaking. So this person is not bilingual. How is she going to educate those residents and communicate with them and let them know why they are being fined?
Yeah, so Director Bauer can add to that. But in terms of some of these areas of the community, like for instance, I'm thinking of the Arlington neighborhood where in a lot of cases, let's say hypothetically you have violations of the trash ordinance. A lot of the folks who are living in that part of the community, and certainly in others as well, they are often renters, right? And so it's difficult to try to enforce a municipal ordinance when you have a renter. And so a big part of this in the context of, say, the Arlington neighborhood, it's going to be holding landlords accountable ultimately. And thankfully in the Arlington neighborhood, it's interesting how it's a area of the community that is unique by the way of how a lot of the landlords actually live in the neighborhood, which is unique. But Director Bauer can speak to the broader concern.
So just to make a point on this, during the pilot programs, we had a representative from Harvey, from the vendor, go with the person from the city, and they provided somebody who was bilingual. They're required to do that per their contract, so they're required to go out. It was a team effort, and I think it's just a good idea in case you run into somebody who's not happy with what you're telling them, for us to go in pairs. But again, like the mayor said, this person is not guaranteed this position. We have to go out, we advertise, we'll interview people, and certainly bilingual folks will be considered, because it is going to be valuable to be out there and be able to speak Spanish to Spanish-speaking residents. So that'll be something that we consider during the interview process.
Okay.
And to add to that, there's a component of our agreement that the vendor's required to provide a certain amount of funds to help with education.
That's right.
And so that's obviously something that we would want to maintain with whoever the new vendor is. And, I think that, hypothetically, if we were to cross that bridge and we needed help with translation and properly communicating with residents, that would be a tremendously useful, line to target in terms of utilizing funds for education. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's just I'm thinking out loud.
So our outreach to residents, so door hangers, things that we hang on barrels are English and Spanish.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
as a rule.
Is the city assigning a car to this person? Like transportation, how it's,
At this point, no.
no? Okay,
At this point.
thank you.
Counselor DiZoglio.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So that's why I wanted to ask, because it says that we'll go and examine violations and possibly fines. Well, they're not driving around to see, because if I recall, the ordinance says your barrel has to be shut. Well, I could go up and down this whole neighborhood right now, and there's trash overflowing in pretty much every barrel. There's no transportation for this person. How are they supposed to go around neighborhoods to monitor the trash and educate them, but also at the end of the day, enforcement?
So I have in-house vehicles, and you may see them at Ditson Place. So I have in-house vehicles that have City of Methuen stickers on them. The people whoever gets the position will be wearing, City of Methuen badge, City of Methuen DPW clothing. And we've developed a system of fines where we'll leave a sticker that's a warning on the barrel. They won't be handed the fine out in the street. The fine they'll come back here, and we'll submit a fine to them via the mail. So they'll get a fine electronically. So we're going to have basically what the police use for parking tickets. We're going to have something that we can type in there, and then the fine is automatically delivered to them, so it's not going to be a face-to-face operation. They will be getting that, whatever we decide. They can get multiple warnings, a sticker, then a warning, however we want to do that. But it won't be a face-to-face operation when they get the fine. But I think it is important to be in a vehicle that's marked, badge, clearly people will understand that that person's from the city. So we'll use in-house vehicles, not a take-home vehicle.
That's the point. I think that's helpful to clarify, where we're not talking about creating a new position, having to go and procure a new vehicle from the CIP. This is something that we can accommodate.
So they're going to receive a city vehicle for the day, go and do their job, and then go home, drop the vehicle off, and then go home.
In this case, yes. So, for instance, we have our conservation officer. What Mr. Girusso would do, and now we have Chris Parsons in that role. They park you'll see the conservation vehicle out here at City Hall. They take their personal vehicle, park it here, and then they use the conservation vehicle to go out and do their work for the day. And then they come back and, of course, take their own vehicle home. So this would be along a similar line.
Of course. Counselor Santos.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My biggest concern was exactly what Council's Valley asked. Since the Central District is going to be the most affected one with this, not affected, I want to say needed one on this position. My biggest concern is that whoever fills this position speaks Spanish, since the majority of the population there speaks Spanish, and most of them doesn't speak English, so they can be educated in this aspect.
Absolutely. And actually, if you look to the job description, we indicate directly that we do prefer a bilingual candidate, and that's listed in the job description. Thank you.
I would love to see the person that fills this position speak Spanish. Thank you.
Counselor Drew.
I've got two questions. It kind of goes back to what we've talked about every time one of these positions comes up. Where did we come up with this number for this salary? I know there's a chart, but who chose that chart? How did we choose it? Where did it come from?
So this is something that I went ahead and chose. It's based on the ME5 level in our wage and salary grid for DPW, just in terms of research on what other communities pay for something along these lines. I thought that was proper and would be competitive enough in this case. But again, when it comes to anything like this, if we get to a point where we need to make an adjustment, that's something that we're always able to do with a vote of the council. But at least at the outset, it's a new position. So like the economic development coordinator role, I don't want to go too crazy with it. We want to see some results and such, because again, this is another position that is, I view, an investment, but we also want to do that responsibly. So I don't know if the CAFO wants to add anything, but we're basing it on the ME5 level in DPW.
Is this a unionized position? Will they be represented? Yes. My other question was from Director Bauer, mentioned that we'll be fining everybody and we'll just be sending them an electronic ticket. What's the mechanism to collect on those fees? Like, how are we going to, if I get a ticket in the mail from DPW, what's my repercussions if I don't pay it?
So it would be similar to the parking, the way that we do the parking, as the director said, similar to the way that we do parking tickets. But that's all something that's kind of a separate process that we need to work out as far as this position goes. I just wanted to add to what the mayor had said. The ME5 is a DPW union position. It's in line with the working foreman position. And it's something that we discussed with the director during the budget process. So we budgeted at that level intentionally so that it would be along those same lines.
Okay, I understand how we're going to ticket them and do similar to the parking tickets, but if I get a parking ticket and it's on my license, it's attached to my license, I can't renew my license. This trash, if I don't pay my trash ticket, do I not get my trash picked up?
We do have the option, perhaps, I think this might be done in the city of Lawrence. I'm not 100% certain, but from what I've heard, where if there are fines that are levied against a citizen by the city, there is the opportunity to add it to the tax bill. So there are mechanisms by way we can ensure that we're collecting resources from these fines without having to rely on, say, somebody going on and
so we're going
payment.
To rely it to the, if we have a renter who's just doing whatever they want, we're going to rely on the owner to ensure that they're
In that
enforcement
case,
of their tenants.
We would be going after the landlord in that case, yeah.
Okay.
Counselor Valley.
Yes, that's what the city of Lowell is doing, and it happened to me as a landlord. I didn't pay it on time. I just added to the property tax bill.
Counselor Santos.
Do we already have a amount on the fines?
So we have right now on the books that the city council approved. It's an ordinance that deals with the whole structure in terms of fines and the like for the trash program. I don't have the ordinance in front of me, but that's something that we can provide you with a copy, and it outlines the schedule of fines.
Thank you.
I'm going to make a recommendation that that ordinance go back to public safety and that something be implemented where it's added to the tax bill. Because right now, to answer your question, Councilor Drew, there is no actual real mechanism for us to collect those fines. So you can, it's not like you're not going to be able to get your registration, which is what you compared it to. So we're not blocking any other services right now from the city if they don't pay that bill. And then you can't charge the tenant either. It's against the law in Massachusetts, for clarification. Am I ready to,
I think
Councilor?
legal has some.
I just want to clarify. You don't need to change the ordinance for it to be added to the tax bill because there is a state law that allows us to do that.
Perfect.
We just haven't been doing this yet, so that process hasn't been set up. But the treasurer and the CAFO are aware of that ability. So, and then the authorization currently exists in state law for most fines and fees levied by the community. Not all, but this one would certainly be included. So that when we did the trash ordinance last session with the last council, we were aware of that. And we didn't put it in there because it's a separate authority under state law. But I can certainly circulate that ordinance as well. It's a comprehensive trash ordinance when we never had one before that goes through all of this. And a piece of that ordinance, this is a piece of that ordinance. There was a piece that wanted to require education and that kind of thing because of the changes in terms of how things, what you're supposed to do, what you're supposed to put in, what you're not supposed to put in, those kinds of things.
So, Mr. Mayor, I guess that's in your court then to implement that. We'll go to any further questions, or we're going to vote.
Just one final question on this position specifically. I know we've talked about the trash needing a reset. I'm assuming this position will be utilized to ensure that all of the assets that we have across the city with the barrels will be ensure that we have the inventory, utilizing that same mechanism to, pay for the barrels that the homes are may not have right now, that we need to ensure that they're paying every year. This is what this position kind of will be focusing on early.
Yes, in partnership with the vendor, because one of the things that we've incorporated into the RFP is a specific element there where we would have the vendor take on more of the responsibility of the cart situation, just to eliminate as much as we can, having the city be involved as a middleman there. But nevertheless, if we get to a point where with a new vendor, and from an operational standpoint, we need to have more of that focus on the city side, that would definitely be in the wheelhouse of this person.
So they'll ensure that, this home doesn't have 2 barrels on record, it's only got 1. We're going to make sure and kind of go through and make sure our inventory is correct with this position so that we can make sure that we're capturing all the tonnage and people that are maybe having more are paying accordingly.
Yeah, all the above, that's the goal.
No further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. Motion carries. New business, resolutions, TR 26-9, resolution authorizing acceptance. I'm sorry?
We moved that.
Oh, yeah, sorry, that is right. You see, that's why you're right next to me. Thank you, Madam Vice. TR 26-10, resolution amending traffic rules and regulations.
The mayor
This
pulled
I
it.
am taking off the agenda. TR 26-11, resolution of the Methuen City Council requesting the mayor to conduct an analysis of department head and non-union supervisory salaries. Request of Councilor DeZoglio. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Motion by Councilor DeZoglio, seconded by Councilor Samard. Discussion. Councilor DeZoglio, the floor is yours.
Thank you. So if you heard all night, we've been asking salaries and where they get the whole point of the salaries. And Madam Vice Chair could also agree with me when we were on the school committee together, when salaries came to us, we always asked the question, what cities are you comparing us to? With this analysis, we are going to be comparing, like I did when I was looking up the assistant city council clerk. I went to 3 cities that were in line with our population, our demographics, and also with our budget. Here, it's kind of fixing, the mayor and I have talked about this. It just seems like our salaries are all over the place. With this analysis, we will have a competitiveness, but we're also not giving a salary that came from Springfield or that has 120,000 people with a different tax bracket, commercial base, residential taxes, in a whole different budget. The mayor has to specifically and then present it to us, so we're not asking those questions. He could say, I compared it to Peabody, that's 55,000 people with a budget that's similar to us and all across the board. So it's kind of eliminating those questions, but also competing against people, cities that are close to us. So that's why I put this ordinance, this resolution together.
Thank you. Counselor Marsan.
Thank you. So I just have, if we do an analysis of our existing department heads and we get the conclusions of that and we find out that we're not paying what's competitive, are we now going to, now it's on record that we're not, and maybe we are, maybe we're not, but now are we going to increase their pay? What's the, right, we're looking at existing department heads. So are we just going to say, okay, now we got to increase our budget because we're not paying enough?
I have Counselor Pesh raising the hand. Good question, Counselor Martin.
So similarly, I was gonna say the same thing in a different way. What happens if we find out that we're overpaying? Right? So originally, Counselor DeZoglio, because I get what you're trying to do with this, I was thinking that it would maybe be better served going forward because we need some sort of uniformity as to what we look at, right? And I think that's what you're getting to, and you've asked those questions tonight, like where are we getting these salary ranges? Are they arbitrary? Are we pulling them from different communities to align with what I think this position is? But then we're using other communities to align for a different position, right? So I think I agree with the concept. I have to agree a little bit with Councilor Marsan. I guess and I would ask you maybe, I know the mayor had his hand up, but I would ask you maybe what the end result is that we're looking for with the existing ones.
Well, I know I'm more looking at it as if when I'm just saying a department head, comes back and wants a $30,000 salary. Well, if they're in that range already of another city, we don't need to say we're going to give them $30,000. We might give them $10,000 because they're in that range. Sometimes where we have looked at salaries, where I've watched city council meetings and someone gets a $30,000, $40,000 raise, and I'm like, well, wait a minute.
So here's a question for you. Say two particular positions who are somewhat similar, right? But one's been here for 30 years, started at X salary, and one's been here newer, maybe started at something else, right? They do this kind of, investigation into the salaries, and they find that the average is actually, one is being overpaid and one is being underpaid. So one's being overpaid by $40,000, one's being underpaid by $40,000, right? Now, what happens when those two similar positions go into collective bargaining agreements or whatever, or negotiations, I should say, with the mayor, and they say, okay, this is our average salary, so we're giving nothing to one and giving a $40,000 raise to the other to bring them equal?
But so back to you, through you, Madam Chair, we always are saying that we're having a high turnover because people are not getting paid properly, or somebody feels like they're not getting, wouldn't we want an analysis done where we're saying, well, no, you actually are getting paid right, or better yet, maybe you're not, but we then work to keep people here.
I agree with the concept. I
think
don't
people
know
are
that we're
afraid.
going to get that desired effect from this, and I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Samard.
Thank you, Madam Chair. What I've done in the past, Counselor, is I when it comes to someone's a new contract, I've just reviewed the budget and then compared it to other, similar cities or towns. One thing's for sure is the salary's never going to go down, so you figure out what's appropriate. And there is the Collins Group that we could do for major department heads that we can do in the past, but it's just kind of incumbent upon each councilor to, when you vote on that contract of a department head, to do your homework, and that's what I've done in the past. So, and you can deliberate amongst ourselves, without violating the open meeting law, but that's what I've done in the past.
And through that question, though, would you like that the mayor brings that, instead of us doing that homework, that the mayor brings it to us, and then we could do our homework, say, hey, I looked at PBD, Methuen, Everett, they're similar to our demographics, then we can look at it as well. It's just, he's bringing these positions to us. So I like to know if the mayor's doing his homework by looking at comparable, and that's any mayor. And then we go looking for it after. When the last position we looked at, I literally did my digging. Where if I knew right there, hey, we looked at Peabody, Methuen, and Everett, I could go right to those, see their demographics and go, all right, that's comparison. Instead of tabling it and then coming back after doing our homework, it's already presented to us. And that's what this analysis is. Every time he comes to a table with the position, he has to show comparisons right away. That's where I'm really getting at.
I would think that's a lot to ask of the mayor and the CAFO. I think no matter what they present, I know I'm still going to do my homework and I'm going to do my own fact finding, but that's just, past experience.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Pesh, and then I'll go to Counselor Valley.
Sorry, just wanted clarification because I agree, Counselor Gisoglio, with what you just said, but I don't think the resolution says that. So I am completely on board with this if it is for new positions or positions that the mayor is seeking maybe some sort of, large raise for as a means of justification to have some sort of barometer to measure the salaries. Totally for that. I think my concern is all with the whole, investigation as to where we are now, because I'm nervous as to how that's going to play out if someone's over, if someone's under. Does that make sense? So I don't know if you want to, because what you just said, I agree with. I don't know if you want to change this. I don't know what the will of the council is, but change it to reflect, new positions or positions coming forward that maybe have a big jump, maybe attach a dollar amount, like any raises over a certain amount plus new positions would have these sort of, structures to getting us fair and appropriate comparisons that we can use.
Sure, whatever works for the council to.
I'm going to go to Counselor Valley and then you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My concern, Councilor Gisoglio, is the comparable cities that you use, Peabody, Everett, and Methuen. Because of the proximity to Boston, the property values are higher, rentals are higher, and the tax rate is higher. So it's like apples with oranges that we're comparing here.
So in that case, but also they have the similar population than us, 58, 55,000, and et cetera. That's why, and also their budgets, if I recall, one of them was actually lower than us. And I could get those, and I don't quote me, but I could go look for that, and I can show you that their budget was actually smaller than us.
I would like to see the revenue.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Any further discussion, or did I miss someone? The CAFO, the mayor, sorry, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just some food for thought. Again, as similar to the other resolutions we were talking about, this isn't the law, right? We're not creating a new law. This is an ask of the administration to go about a specific exercise. And so, one thing that we've had extensive discussions internally about is the idea of doing perhaps like a salary study to take a look at how we rank in comparison to, say, municipalities of comparable size and circumstance. But beyond that, something that we need to get after, just as a broader governmental reform, is a complete top-to-bottom reform of the wage and salary classification plan itself, quite literally from top to bottom. Because the issue that we have now is that over time, over the course of however many years that plan has been in place, it's kind of become a mosaic, right? Imagine like a random quilt with all these different patches, right? Where you have, say, a particular administration in office, and they create a new position for whatever reason, and they establish the pay at a certain amount. Well, then, as long as that position, as long as that rate of pay is built into the wage and salary classification plan, it's there until a future administration or maybe a future council removes it and changes the plan itself. And so because of that, over time, we have aspects of the wage and salary classification plan that really have no clear, definitive rhyme or reason. And so that's something that, we're certainly not going to address that overnight. I don't even think that's something that we're going to be ultimately able to fully solve in terms of addressing the issue in the short term. But over time, we really need to get after the idea of reforming the way that we handle that. And, there are other municipalities I look to, I'm kind of quirky, granted I'm a mayor and we're a city, but I often look to the towns and the town form of government where you look at Andover, you look at Brookline, you look at other municipalities. Arlington is a great example. I have experience with Arlington, and their system, it's a lot more straightforward. It's a lot more cut and dry, where they have a standard grid, and you're plugged into wherever you're plugged into, and there are no exceptions made, position by position basis. So, I think this is yet another example of where, rather than looking to what other cities are doing, we should look to the professionally managed towns and, use a lot of the principles that are at play there, looking at Andover, Brookline, Arlington, et cetera, because it seems to be a system that works. It's a lot cleaner, and it's not subject to maybe some of the Methuen-ish issues we've had over the course of the past many years, where actions are taken, positions are created, favors are granted, frankly, right, where that's not ultimately in the best interest of the residents and the taxpayers. And so we should look at a more streamlined process.
Councilor Duro.
I agree with this resolution in the sense that hearing things that we're concerned about, are we underpaying people? That genuinely bothers me. The fact, I am a strong believer that people should be paid a fair wage for their jobs. They should be ensured that they're being compensated accordingly. That being said, I understand everybody's, if you have the right person for the job, sometimes you pay more for things. I think what Councilor DeZoglia is trying to do here is ensure that we do see equity across everything in the city. So yes, there may be people that are currently overpaid, and we're not going to, maybe we're going to freeze that salary until we can get to that point where we're going to be equitable with the remainder across the city. But if we're going to look at this and say we don't want to vote on it because we're concerned that we may have to pay people what they're actually owed, I think that's kind of a cop-out, to be totally honest with all of you.
Thank you. I have a question for the solicitor. Mr. Solicitor, federal law just passed, I believe, in regards to wages and salaries. My understanding, and I could have misinterpreted it, where you could look at your salary and be like, and this was President Trump, you could look at your salary and be like, you're not paying me enough, and I did my research at the federal level, at the national level, and this is what I should be paying, should be paid. Am I understanding that wrong?
So I don't know what law you're
I think
referring to.
I sent you a link.
I'm happy to look at that. I know we did pass in Massachusetts the Pay Transparency Act, where every community, including government, are required to post the full range of each job from the bottom to the top, so people know. We've always done that here, I think, at least as long as I've been here, and for a lot longer. But some communities don't do that. Everyone has to do that now, so people know what they can expect in terms of range. I'm happy to look at that. I'm not familiar with that federal law.
I'll send you that link. With that being said, is there further discussion on this resolution? Okay. So I'm going to call the vote.
I would just note, based on some of the discussion, this does not apply to any union jobs. It only applies to department heads and unaffiliated supervisory roles. So these are all non-union positions.
So I'll see if anybody wants to, but I'd like to make a motion to table this, to rework it, to at least change it to reflect our discussions more appropriately.
I second that motion.
There's a motion to table by Councilor Pesch, second by Councilor Valley. I'll take a roll call on that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
To table, yeah.
And I'm a no on that.
Unanimous. You're a no?
You know.
No to table from Counselor Marsan. Motion carries. Resolution has been tabled. TR 26-12, resolution authorizing an expenditure from the Edwin J. Castle Fund for the St. Patrick's Day Parade requested by the Commission on Trust Funds. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Counselor Samar, seconded by Counselor Pesh. Discussion on this matter.
Madam Chair, I just want to be open, honest, transparent with the people. I am a lead organizer with this. I've spoken with the solicitor. His understanding is I have no financial interest in this. All finances are handled through the Haverhill Chamber of Commerce Methuen Business Alliance. So I have no financial interest. I would like the solicitor to please just chime in and clear up that I am correct in what I'm saying, and if I should recuse myself or if I shouldn't.
So you have no direct financial interest in a matter, you do not need to recuse yourself, although you're free to do so if you feel that that's necessary. In this case, you've just disclosed that you have no financial interest, so there's no appearance of impropriety. You're not benefiting from this in any way financially. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Counselor DiZoglio.
As same as Counselor Drew, I am a member of the St. Patrick's Day Committee. I've talked to the solicitor as well. I have no financial gain, but I just want to disclose the fact that I am part of the committee.
Great. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Unanimous, motion carries. Thank you. TR 26-13, resolution regarding lighting improvements on the rail trail, including blue lighting. It's a request of Counselor DiZoglio. Motion to approve.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Counselor Pesh, second by Counselor Valley. Discussions on the floor. Counselor DiZoglio.
Yes. So I've been working on this actually for about 5 weeks now. I've met with the chief. He sent a letter that he is in full support of. It all really started as I went down there one night and I noticed it was pitch black and couldn't see. And I said, you know, one of us, all on the campaign trail, one of the things we would love to do is develop the downtown. I've talked to the Rail Trail Alliance and what they do. I've talked to the mayor, and one of the ideas that I came up with is lighting it up. I've also talked to the Haverhill Chamber of Commerce. They are interested, just getting a plan together. We have a design of certain lights that we would see, but also the another portion to it is potentially turning it into a veterans memorial of all the fallen veterans of Methuen, which would generate grants to supporting it. I've already reached out to certain grant organizations that support rail trails, veterans. The question is, it's just developing a plan, but this is the idea. So I'm hoping we send this resolution through, and then subcommittees like the public safety can work on certain things as well for grants, veterans as well. Just trying to put my ducks in a row here for this project.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Mr. Mayor, you have.
I think it's a fantastic idea. The rail trail is a tremendous asset to our community. And the fact that we have a rail trail opens our community up to various grant opportunities, as the counselor indicated. And as I've experienced personally, I remember there was a time when folks who were part of the Rail Trail Alliance, they were looking to install some new benches and they had an opportunity to go after a grant. And when I was on the council, I wrote a letter of support in favor of that. And so there's a lot of grant tie-ins with this, not to mention this effort to increase the level of connectivity between the downtown and other parts of the community that are along the rail trail. So I think from a public safety standpoint, it makes sense as well. And, this is something that we can get creative with, whether it is through the grant opportunities or maybe even as something I've discussed in the past with the folks in the Rail Trail Alliance, the prospect of having a carve out maybe in the CIP for improvements to the rail trail, just by way of being a public asset that folks rely on in the future. So there's opportunities here to be creative, and I'm all for it. Great idea.
Great. Any further discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Ordinances. TO 26-6, an ordinance further updating the winter parking ban enforcement and notification provisions of the Municipal Code of the City of Methuen. This is also request an EPA. This is a request of the chief. Motion to further update the winter parking ban.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Councilor Pesh, seconded by Councilor Valley. Any discussion? Yes.
I know the chief, thank you. I know the chief isn't here. I just wanted to thank him, and I wanted to point out to the public that he did add in language to protect short-term small businesses from having short-term customer parking if they are in fact open. And obviously there are safety conditions put on that, but it was exactly what I was looking for when I had asked him about that. And I know we had the small business in the center of town write in as well. So I just wanted to have him, thank him for doing that.
Perfect. Any further comments? Councilor Marsan?
Just to ask the solicitors, we can abolish an ordinance by just placing it in another ordinance?
Placing it in, I'm sorry?
So we're abolishing TR 2521, and it's just verbiage in here that we don't have to take a formal vote to abolish an ordinance?
No, you can strike the section and replace it in the same vote. We're actually, so as you recall, when this ordinance came before you, it had not come through the solicitor's office, and there was a little confusion about whether it was in committee and you were presented with options A, B, and C. It wasn't actually written in the form of an ordinance. It had no, it wasn't actually sitting anywhere in the ordinances. And there were some things that needed to be adjusted. And so that's what we did working with the chief. So this simply will substitute this text for the currently existing text that's there in total. It makes no substantive changes other than the ones that were requested at the last meeting with the chief. And Councilor Pesh has pretty much identified those changes. It just provides a structure. And it also allows us to designate, instead of naming specific parking lots, for instance, in the ordinance, it requires the city to designate a minimum of 3 and then to publicize those so that we can, instead of having to change the ordinance every time we change parking, or, the chief can and the mayor can do that separately. Those kinds of things don't really belong in an ordinance. They belong sort of at the administrative level. So we've cleaned that up so that we can designate more than 3. But they can change, based on the needs of the community, things like that. So yes, in answer to your question, you can repeal and enact in the same vote.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Councilor Samard.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Quickly, before we vote on the EPA, I just want the solicitor to just clarify that this does meet the EPA requirements.
So, I don't know if this needs an EPA. It's totally up to you because we have the ordinance in effect. So, it can certainly wait for an enactment in the next meeting. It's really just a clarification of the current ordinance and putting it in the proper structure and citing it in the code in the correct place. So I don't necessarily see an EPA need, but that's up to the council.
Could we say it's because of a snow emergency that's pending or looming?
You certainly could say that there's another potential pending snow emergency potentially heading for us. That would suffice if you want to do an EPA.
The groundhog says there's 6 more weeks of winter.
Yeah, there's 6 more weeks of winter, exactly.
What
Yep.
Phil said.
It will enact no substantive changes really to the fines. Everything will stay the same. The authority is still the same. It just adds some clarifying language. it does change in terms of the business parking. It has a provision for that, which was requested by the council. So that piece is a little different, but it's not a significantly substantive change.
Any further discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Was that in favor of the EPA or in favor of?
In favor of
Main motion.
the main motion, and then we'll do the EPA.
Yes, I'm in favor.
Yes. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Now on the EPA. Motion to approve the EPA requested.
Second.
Counselor Pesh, seconded by Counselor DeZoglio. Discussion on EPA. I don't.
You can have a discussion on the EPA if you wish.
Well, I think we did that already. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Great. We needed 6 votes for that, so on the record, we all
Correct.
said yes, unanimous. TO 26-7, an ordinance allowing for continued service on boards and commissions by 2/3 vote, 6 votes of the Methuen City Council. Motion to accept.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Counselor Valley, seconded by Counselor Drew. Discussion. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the purpose of this ordinance is to really add some clarity to the municipal code. So right now, in section 3-80, this is regarding the establishment of the 10-year limit on terms of office for members of boards and commissions. So if you look at that section of the code, the first sentence, it's very straightforward. It says that if you are a member of a board or commission and you have served in excess of 10 years, you may not be reappointed unless you receive a supermajority vote in favor of your reappointment beyond 10 years by the city council. So that would be 6 votes. But then, taking that side of it, which is, I think, pretty clear, there is a second sentence, and this relates to legislation that had been passed back in 2010. And in essence, what it states is that, let's say hypothetically you have an individual who serves on a board or commission, and let's say they have a 3-year term. They have a 3-year term, a 3-year term, again, they're reappointed, and then they get to, say, year 9. And it comes time to be reappointed in this case. Because that reappointment would then kick them over the 10-year mark, they wouldn't be able to be reappointed at all. It's a total prohibition on appointments that would go over the 10 years if they're, say, hypothetically in year 9 of their term, which contradicts the first sentence, which says that you can have a 10-plus year reappointment with a supermajority vote of the city council, 6 votes. So the goal of this is to really add some clarity to the code, stating definitively that if you are serving on a board or a commission, your time is under 10 years, your reappointment requires a simple majority, 5 votes, or conversely, if you are a 10-plus year appointee, then you would only be able to be reappointed with a supermajority. So this, I think, adds some clarity to the code. It takes away the ambiguity that you have 2 lines in that ordinance that, in essence, contradict each other in terms of what you're able to do. Something to keep in mind is that we have been very intentional about trying to recruit new blood for our boards and commissions. And in some cases, we've been successful. In other cases, there are boards and commissions where we do not have a line of people, qualified applicants who are at the door waiting to serve. And so there are those times when we must reappoint someone who might be over the 10-year mark in order to maintain some continuity and stability on these boards, but also simply because there isn't anybody waiting in the wings to succeed them if hypothetically they were not reappointed. So this would eliminate the ambiguity in the code and allow for, in those cases where we don't have new blood at the ready, allow us to maintain consistency and allow for the 10-plus year appointments. Thank you.
Any further questions or discussion? Counselor Santos.
what kind of efforts are we making, or this office is making, to bring more people to participate in our government?
It's a good question. So what we do right now is on the city website, we have an application form where folks can log in, they fill out their information, they indicate their preference in terms of the boards or commissions they would like to serve on. They're required to upload a resume so that we can take a look and do some vetting in terms of the background of these individuals. They have to pass a query check. But in terms of the marketing piece, for a time, there had been just this link on the website, and folks would probably seek it out if they wanted to apply. But what we try to do in recent months is be more intentional about getting the word out there by way of social media, basic networking. Hey, if you know of people who are interested in, say, zoning or planning board or community development in this case, historic preservation, getting involved with conservation matters, and they have a background, say, in that field, or at least an interest in that field, then we've had an increase in applications as a result of that push for people. Hey, leverage your network. Let's get out the word on social media and making that more concerted push. And so we've made great strides. I think in the past couple of months, we had many boards where folks were serving long expired appointments. And so what I'm trying to do is incrementally get every board into full compliance with these term structures so that we don't have anybody serving an expired appointment. And that would require people to come before the council for a vote, and either they would be reappointed or we'd have a new person appointed, or you would perhaps vote against an appointment if you're not in favor, and we would be able to proceed from there. But the bottom line is to really clean up these boards and commissions and get back to a place where we don't have the expired appointments.
The reason I ask is because I have several people that I have spoke about this in this past week, and they have submitted application that have never been replied to. They haven't received any notice back, and that's why I just would like to maybe follow up on it. If I may bring you some names.
Yeah, that would be very helpful, because there have been instances where I think at one point there were some people who were interested in the historic district commission, something along those lines. One local business owner, I think, indicated that they had applied, and then I looked back and we didn't have a record of the application. So I think what we need to do, or what I need to do, is do a better job at closing the loop in some of these cases where, let's say, I'm hearing that someone wants to apply. If they have applied, that's great, but if not, maybe doing some follow-up and seeing if they have the right link and are able to complete it. But certainly, if you could maybe email me the names and the specific boards and commissions they've applied to, I'd be happy to follow up. And ditto for any other counselor who has people in their network who wants to serve.
Thank you.
Question, Counselor Drew? May I ask a question before you speak, Counselor?
Yeah.
Did you guys read the email that I circulated from the solicitor regarding this line item?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I just had a question on this. If we vote yes to this, we're still keeping the 10-year requirement in place, and we would still need a supermajority of the council to approve somebody over the 10-year mark. This is just getting rid of that weird ambiguity that's 9 years you can go past, but you can't go past 10. Is that what we're doing?
So the way that it works now, the 2010 ordinance currently allows folks to be appointed, say 9 years. If you have a 3-year appointment, you have had 3 terms, and you come back at year 9 for another term, you can do that now under the current ordinance by 2/3 vote. But you can't, but that person after they've passed that 10-year threshold, can never be reappointed. There are a lot of people, and as we've seen at the last meeting, that have served more than that period of time. They're over the 10 years. Whether that's good, bad, that's a policy decision, but the power still rests with the council. They cannot approve anyone at any point. This change just allows people, it just makes it much clearer. If you're under 10 years, it's a majority vote. If you're over 10 years of time, it has to be by 2/3 vote. You can still vote no for any appointment and send it back for the mayor, and he has to come up with another appointment. So I would say, I just want to draw your attention to the fact that this ordinance only applies to the boards and commissions that are defined in it. And so those boards and commissions that are currently defined in the current ordinance are the Community Development Board, the Zoning Board of Appeals, the Licensing Board, the Housing Authority, and the Conservation Commission. Those are the ones that exist now in the ordinance that have this restriction. So it wouldn't apply to many other boards and commissions. I think these were selected because these are generally boards with a significant amount of legal authority that actually affect development, that affect public health, things like that. So it actually doesn't have public health. But again, those are the ones that are in now. Obviously, there can be changes, but some of the appointments that came through are not part of these boards. And so right now, those would be allowed to serve beyond 10 years with just a majority vote, unless there were further changes to this ordinance. There is another ordinance that I circulated that goes to the recruitment piece, and it does currently require us to advertise these positions in a newspaper. I don't know whether that's happening or not happening. It has some parameters in there about, whoever responds is supposed to be the pool of candidates that's, presented to the council. I mean, those are procedural issues that I think the mayor's trying to get his hands around in terms of streamlining this process. And to be fair, as I indicated in my email, there aren't a lot of people banging down the door to do these jobs. These are difficult jobs, and I know most of us are familiar. It's a tremendous amount of work to serve on these boards: Community Development, Zoning Board of Appeals, Licensing Board, Housing Authority, Conservation Commission. These boards really meet very frequently and do a lot of work, and they're currently uncompensated. So, as I indicated in my email, if you want more people, it may be time to consider compensating some of these boards to increase the quality of candidates that you're recruiting and getting people more interested. But of course, that's a policy decision that the mayor and the council needs to make. But I do know that recruitment of these positions, just like with a lot of positions in the city, with regard to the salary schedule, are difficult for us to fill. So, and that is directly because of the reward and the monetary reward that goes along with it.
Any further question or discussion?
So with the other boards, those aren't touched. They still have that 10-year, you're done, unless,
Other boards not mentioned here have no restriction. You can serve beyond 10 years by a simple majority vote. They're just not included in this. They were never included in any ordinance. So and that was a judgment call. This issue has gone back and forth. I did look at this historically. For decades, it's gone back and forth depending on the council's preference. At one point, there was no restriction. Then there was a restriction of just 10 years with a 2/3 override, which is what we're sort of would go back to now if you adopted this. And then in the last iteration, they basically said, well, we'll let you go over 10 years, but once you do that, we don't want you back. So the mayor can speak more to this because he's doing these appointments, but there's a good number of people in that group who have more than 10 years of service on these important boards. And there is an interest, obviously, in having some historical knowledge and continuity and experience transmitted to new board members, too. So I think it's important to have, some structured transition in who sits on these boards because, as I said, they do, all development in the city, basically.
Any further discussion?
Something else to share too. Oh, sorry.
Mr. Mayor, yeah?
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Just briefly to add some additional information to the discussion. Something that we really try to get after is, for instance, with the zoning board, right? We have every member serving a current term, but we've tried to be intentional about filling the alternate slots as well, because when you have, say, hypothetically, a board like that, there's a lot of institutional knowledge, and it's important for, say, folks who are interested in continuing to serve over a period of time. There might be a new applicant. By being an alternate member, you're still able to participate in discussions and engage, even though you might not have a formal vote when you have a full membership present and voting. But that has given us an opportunity to, in essence, build up and train the next round of people who will be on those boards. And so, a great recent example is Mateo Zingales joining the zoning board, and Manso Chaya So what's great is, they're able to learn alongside individuals who've been there for some time, but that institutional knowledge will be able to be passed off to the next generation, in essence. So, we're trying to get creative about doing some bench building in this context as well.
Any further discussion? I have something to add. What I'd like to see, Mr. Mayor, on an ordinance like this is a stipend for these particular boards, like your zoning and your planning board. Not only the stipend, regardless of what that looks like, I would think it would fall under those departments, right, when we do budget season, for them to be on those boards. But to clean up the requirements that we have currently of having to advertise, and maybe that changes to online as opposed to the Eagle Tribune or any newspaper. But aside from that, that resolution that we passed that asked you to fill those seats kind of ties back into this voting, because I think that we're looking at what comes first, the chicken or the egg. Like, we're just playing that game. So, it's the will of the body, but I for the piece that was in front of us, for a member that had been there for over 20 years, I think it was being reassigned, I think, for the 30th, like the next 10 years, basically. I just think that 10 years is just too long for a board. That's just me personally. So.
Yeah, I think it is a long time. And then that really, when we talk about that, I think it brings us back to that square one point where I couldn't agree more that's a long time. But the challenge that we have is if we don't have that level of interest in some of these cases, by necessity, we find ourselves in that position where, although it's not ideal, it'd be great to have, a new qualified person ready to go.
But you would think that if you had, let's say, the stipend piece, somebody in that field would potentially now be interested in doing that as well.
Right.
So
Definitely
I'm
a good
just
thought.
throwing that out there.
Sure. Thank you.
So if there's no further conversation, I'd go to vote on this item. So all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's unanimous, carries. Any other business for the good and welfare of the community before we adjourn? Councilor Samard.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to commend our parade committee, 2 members here, also the Haverhill Chamber of Commerce, and all the volunteers that were there last Friday. I've never seen that many people at the Irish Cottage. So, and thank you for what you did, because I think it's going to be a great event and for years to come. So just wanted to acknowledge that. Thank you.
Councilor Valley.
Yes, on the 17th, Luis Navarro, the energy advisor, will be hosting a community outreach at the Nevins Library, 1 p.m. So we know the need and the demand is there. They're all invited.
What does he do again?
Energy advisor. So if you need an energy assessment in your house, because...
So like heat, windows.
High bills for gas, electric, you're more than welcome to...
Excellent. Anything else? Okay. If that's all, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Councilor Drew, seconded by Councilor Valley. All those in favor? Aye. Unanimous. It is now 9:43 and this meeting is over.
Good night,
Thank you.
Methuen.